Oba Femi is one of the most protected wrestlers in WWE right now. For the first match he had for NXT, you already knew WWE had major stocks in him as a wrestler. They portrayed him as this dominant monster that's going to be hard to topple. But just like every other NXT talent, he began his WWE career in NXT Level Up, which is the lower end of the developmental brand. He didn't find much success as he was just taking losses to the likes of Dante Chen, OTM, Von Wagner, Javier Bernal, and Zion Quinn. It's honestly crazy how NXT had this mountain of a man go on a losing streak despite being much bigger and more physically imposing than his opponents. When you compare the careers of those he took losses to, it's actually insane how they didn't take a chance on him any sooner. Oba debuted on the 2023 edition of NXT Spring Breakin' against Ora Mensah. He made quick work of him, absolutely squashing him, and it was apparent from the start that this guy was going to be presented as an immediate threat towards the roster. A couple months later, Oba Femi was one of the many participants in the NXT Breakout Tournament, an event in which participants fight for a contract in which they can cash in on any championships at any time. Same concept as the Money in the Bank. Oba faced Miles Bourne in the first round of the tournament, putting up a dominant performance. You could tell he put a lot of time perfecting his character since his last appearance because he looked like he gained more confidence and found his go-to offense in his matches. In the semifinals of the tournament, Oba faced Tavion Heights in what was another display of dominance from the Giant. This was the match that really put me onto the character of Oba Femi. At first, I was on the fence about him because I was thinking about all the other generic big guys that failed and bunched him in with them, but something about the way he carries himself just felt like he was different from those failed projects. The finals of the tournament was Oba versus Riley Osborne. This was the first actual match for Oba in this tournament, and it was decent for the amount of time it was given. Oba was dominating for the most part of this match until Riley started mounting a comeback. Riley was using his quickness against Oba to catch him off guard, but this didn't really phase Oba, and he managed to get back on track and put Osborne away, securing the NXT Breakout Tournament contract. This event solidified Oba Femi as one of the threats of NXT programming, and he was quickly becoming a fan favorite with his impressive feats of athleticism for his size and for his powerhouse display. On the very next episode of NXT, he will cash in his contract on the North American champion at the time, Dragon Lee. He made quick work of Lee by planting him into the ground with his powerbomb and securing his first title in NXT. This was the start of rise to stardom for the Nigerian monster Oba Femi. The trust in Oba Femi was high because he was relatively new to the wrestling business, so they were taking a risk by crowning him as champion with only a couple of matches in his resume. His next match was his first title defense against Dragon Lee at NXT Vengeance Day. This was the perfect opportunity to see what Oba Femi is truly made of because he was paired with one of the best luchadors in the world. Oba was selling Dragon Lee's offense like rent was due the next day. I think that is what I enjoy about him the most. His ability to sell is underrated. He is 6'6" and he's throwing himself around like he's a whole foot smaller. This man was able to toss around Lee like he was a small child, showing off his outstanding strength. He was receiving pops throughout the whole match as the fans were starting to take notice of the potential star that they are witnessing. He was able to retain his championship in what was a very impressive title defense. He was already solidified as a beast in the ring, but his presence on the mic was undeniable. His deep voice and Nigerian accent mixed with his confidence really helped him click with the crowd in an instant. His next challenger was Lexis King, who stepped up to the beast looking for a title match. Well, he didn't put up much of a challenge to the monster as Oba retained his championship in dominating fashion. Oba visited Ava's office looking for his next challenger, and Ava told him that he has many people wanting to gun for the title, so it isn't easy to pick. Then Ilya Dragunov entered the office and they had an intense face-off. Then Oba smiled and left the office. Later on in that same show, Brooks Jensen approached Oba and challenged him to a championship match, and Oba accepted. Before the match, Oba was being interviewed and it was interrupted by Dijak. Dijak said once Oba is done playing around with his opponent, he'll be next to face him for the championship. Well, Oba made quick work out of Brooks and pinned him while staring down his tag team partner at the time, Josh Briggs. On the next show, Josh Briggs called out Oba Femi to put up the title against him, and Oba accepted. They were then interrupted by Dijak. He reminds Oba that he challenged him first to a championship match the previous week and that he wants a shot. They then all got into the altercation, which resulted in a stalemate with all three men arguing about who gets the title shot. The following show, Briggs secured a victory and was confronted by Dijak in the end, who was then interrupted by Oba. He challenged the both of them in a triple threat match at Stand and Deliver for his North American Championship. These men gave it their absolute all and possibly stole the show as match of the night. Dijak was amazing per usual. Josh Briggs surprised me at how athletic he was in that ring, and Oba Femi worked fluidly with both of their styles. This was a matchup made in heaven with the way these three were able to cook up. Dijak was on the verge of winning, then Oba Femi grabbed his neck off camera and planted him on top of Briggs with a powerbomb and retained his championship. The reign of Oba was off to the greatest start possible. On the next show, Oba Femi was talking about his victory at Stand and Deliver, and he was interrupted by Ivar. He challenged Oba to a match at Spring Breakin' for the North American Championship championship, in which Oba accepted the challenge. This match was a great back and forth big man encounter. These monsters put it all on the line. This was a great representation of Oba adapting his style according to his opponent's wrestling style. For the first time, Oba was on the defensive and he was not able to just power through his opponent, but somehow he was able to gain the strength to get Ivar in an electric chair position and set him up for a pop-up powerbomb, retaining his championship in a phenomenal match. On this same night, Wes Lee made his return after missing time due to a major back injury. It was clear that Wes Lee was looking to regain the championship that he never lost. Well, a couple of weeks later, Briggs, Wes Lee, and Ivar came out to address that they want a shot at Oba's championship. Oba tells them that if they want a shot, then they will have to face each other in a triple threat match to determine the #1 contender. Well, Ivar got taken out of action later that night, so Joe Coffey replaced him in the match. Wes Lee and Joe Coffey both picked up the victory because they both pinned Briggs to end the match. So it was settled that they both faced Oba Femi at NXT Battleground for the North American Championship. This was yet another great triple threat match that had a lot of good spots and great showings from everyone involved. It was very great to see that Wes Lee didn't miss a step coming off of his injury. There was a lot of shenanigans going on outside when Gallus appeared, but Oba Femi was able to take care of them by himself. At the end of the match, Oba caught Wes Lee and powerbombed him, then he powerbombed Joe Coffey to retain his championship. This match truly made Oba Femi look like an unstoppable powerhouse. 2 weeks later, Oba Femi was in the ring boasting about how no one is on his level, and he asked if anyone can truly take him down. Wes Lee then came out and told him that he wasn't pinned, so he wants a fair 1v1 match so he can prove Oba wrong and regain the championship that he never lost. The following week, Wes Lee defeated Joe Coffey to secure his chance to face Oba Femi at NXT Heatwave. The match was spectacular. Wes Lee is one of the best wrestlers on the roster, and Oba Femi is one of the best big men on the roster. You put them both in the ring and you receive magic. Oba Femi was showing insane feats of strength while Wes Lee was using his quickness to catch Oba in a bad position. Wes Lee had a very resilient effort, but Oba Femi was too much in the end and put an end to Lee's dreams of regaining the NXT North American Championship. The most recent challenger to his title is the MVP of Chase University, Duke Hudson. He challenged Oba to a title match to try to bring singles gold to the group, and Oba was treating him like he wasn't an imposing threat. The following episode of NXT, Oba had a fantastic match against Duke Hudson in the main event of the show. Just when you thought you were impressed with an Oba match, he throws yet another banger at you. Duke Hudson is one of the best bigs in the game right now because of his ability to move like a cruiserweight at times despite his size. These two tore the house down and proved that Oba Femi is definitely ready for the main event spot. Oba retained, putting away Duke in a grueling matchup. Ever since Oba Femi was finally released to cause chaos on the roster, he honestly never looked back. NXT took a risk in strapping the Rocket in a guy that had little to no experience when he won the championship, but boy did that risk pay off. Oba Femi without a doubt is going to be a future main event talent. He has the look, the charisma, the promo ability, and the in-ring skill to back that up. I see him lasting one more year on NXT and getting that call up to the main roster sometime next year. Oba Femi is truly the next big monster heel.